Dr. Rubin from East West Healing and Performance. Today I want to talk about inflammation, but I don't, I'm going to try to keep this YouTube really quick. And this YouTube's not just about Oprah, it's about a lot of women out there and men that have chronic inflammation in the skin, inflammation in the ankles, bags under their eyes, puffy skin, just overall inflamed. And that's basically a sign of inflammation in the body. And most people that study physiology, Dr. McCormick, you got Metchnikoff, you have Hans Seeley, all these people, they've shown that most, if not all, diseases stem from the inflammatory cycle. So if you look at why women maybe get more puffier as they age, now, of course, people have inflammation at younger and younger ages, but I'm using Oprah because if you look at Oprah over the past 5, 10, 15 years, she went from a really kind of skinny, very healthy looking, of course, we don't know what's going on physiologically, person to getting more and more inflamed. We have to ask why. Well, as women age, of course, they actually stop producing progesterone. It's a progestation hormone, it's protective, but at the same time, because of blood sugar dysregulation, stressors, pregnenolone steal, the body wanting to save you and fight inflammation rather than procreate, you end up with low progesterone levels at an early age. And at the same time, you produce estrogen in fat cells, so the more weight you have, the more you produce. You get it exogenously, you get it endogenously from the adrenal glands, as well as altered blood sugar levels. So it's really hard to be deficient in estrogen. You might be a little bit low, but it's really hard to go to the bucket like progesterone does. So women after the age, I think Dr. Lee says after the age of 40, stop producing estrogen as much as progesterone, and it goes down about anywhere from 40 to 60%. I forget the exact amount, but you actually still produce it. So you have to ask questions, why do doctors just give estrogen and not progesterone? There's so many dangerous side effects of estrogen, from cell proliferation, vascular leakiness. It's very excitatory. It exacerbates the stress cycle independently of cortisol. So it's very, very dangerous to even take, even in bioidentical form. So if we just look at all those things, we look at people's diets, like eating a diet high in unsaturated fatty acids and nuts and oils and fatty fishes and all these things throughout the years, as well as not getting the right types of sugars in the body, as well as eating inflammatory proteins like tons and tons of muscle meats, whether it's organic or non-organic, as well as going through the normal process of just aging, or we could call it evolution or devolution, whatever you want to call it. What happens in women is they become estrogen dominant. Progesterone drops because of all these things. The body can't detoxify estrogen. You keep building up, so it could be high, normal, or actually low, but it's still higher than progesterone. So that's estrogen dominance. So what happens is your cells actually respire and actually produce water. Most of the food that you eat is water. So you have a lot of water in your body, and yes, you need to drink water, but I used to think, drink half your body weight in ounces of water a day. I've kind of, reevaluated that and come to different conclusions now. That's a whole nother YouTube in itself. But your cells, okay, just to simplify it, your cells actually breathe in a sense, and through that they produce CO2, and they actually produce water. Now, anytime you have a blood sugar dysregulation, you're getting exogenous estrogen from the pill or hormones, you're eating the wrong foods, your progesterone levels drop because of chronic stressors in your life and you can't regulate it and come back to homeostasis, whatever the situation might be, estrogen actually creates, beside vascular leakiness and all the things I talked about, it actually causes or increases your cells, or the protein in the cells, it actually damages them, and increases their affinity for water. And what happens is, it actually creates an alkalinity in the cell, and it causes the cells to swell. The problem is, as they swell, they don't let calcium out, and they don't let sodium in. So now you get that puffiness, inflammatory look to your body, as well as your organs, that can lead to constipation, uterine issues, cramps, clotting, bloating, all these different things that are really caused from that estrogen dominance that create that puffiness in the skin. At the same time, when you're going through the stress reaction, beside the cells actually increasing their affinity for water, and estrogen actually changing the alkalinity, so now you can't produce CO2 like you should, and CO2 actually regulates serotonin, the thyroid, and salt production. So when you're going through this stress reaction, you actually have increased levels of aldosterone going out, and progesterone drops even more because aldosterone and progesterone actually fight for the same receptor. And aldosterone is a mineralocorticoid. It actually regulates blood pressure, salt, things like that in the body, just to simplify it. So we look at our skin, and you can get a good idea of what's going on. You look at Oprah, she's got puffy bags under her skin, her eyes, puffy face, puffy neck, all these different things. And we could say that she's in an inflammatory state. We could say that, assume She has lower progesterone. We're not going to say it's high estrogen. We don't know where it is. And it could be from exogenous, the liver overburden, low progesterone, oversynthesizing pregnenolone into cortisol or progesterone into cortisol to fight stress, regulate blood pressure, regulate blood sugar, which is the most important. So how do we fix this? Of course, nutritionally, it's a lot bigger than you think. How do we actually create some acidity in the cell, right, to balance out the alkalinity, to let it come down, decrease its affinity for water, so it can actually produce CO2. So instead of through anaerobic or aerobic glycolysis converting glucose into lactic acid, which creates more inflammation, actually convert it into glycogen so the liver can store it and use it when needed, and actually downregulate cortisol in the stress cycle. So I know this was a lot of big words, but I love big words. I'm hoping you're learning something. If you're confused, you're learning something. How do we fix this? Well, if you want to know, give us a call and work with us. Peace.